Mother, I'm bored. Could you please stop working and talk to me?
Bored? How could you be bored, darling? Come on, I will read you a story. Have you ever heard of Alice in Wonderland?
Alice in Wonderland? No, Mother, I have never heard of her.
Okay, I will read you that story. One sunny day, Alice was sitting next to her sister while she was reading. Her sister had been reading books all morning, and Alice was very bored now. She thought for a while and decided to ask her sister to stop reading. She was about to do so when she saw a little white rabbit with pink eyes run past her.
I'm late! I have to hurry! I'm late!
As he was running past her, he ran into his rabbit hole. Alice was very interested in this turn of events, and so she decided to follow the rabbit. She looked down into the hole, and suddenly the hole gave away and Alice fell into it. She kept falling and falling for what seemed like a very, very long time.
Will I ever stop falling? What kind of a strange hole is this?
At last, she landed with a thud in a big empty room. The room had 3 doors of different sizes. She saw the rabbit outside the smallest door before it closed shut. But the door was very, very small, no bigger than Alice's new pencil back home.
I must get on the other side of that door. But how will I ever get through? It is so small.
Then Alice noticed a small table in the corner of the room. She walked over to it to find a small bottle of pink potion with the label "Drink Me" written on it. Next to it was a small little key, about the size of the smallest door's lock.
I think this key belongs to that door. I wonder what this potion will do to me if I drink it. Let's try.
Took the key in one hand and drank the potion with the other hand. Suddenly, Alice could no longer see the top of the table. She was becoming smaller and smaller. She was shrinking. The empty bottle of the pink potion became too heavy for her.
What is happening to me? I'm shrinking.
Once Alice was small enough to go through the smallest door, the shrinking stopped. Alice quickly ran to the door, opened it, and ran out. She found herself in the most beautiful garden she had ever seen, but she could not enjoy it because she was so tiny, and all the flowers and plants were so big compared to her.
Oh, I wish I were bigger.
Hearing her talking, the white rabbit came to her and told her very rudely,
"Go to my house and get my gloves and fan."
Alice did not know why the rabbit was so rude to her. Maybe he did not like being followed. Nevertheless, she decided to follow the rabbit's instructions because she was so curious and wanted to see the rabbit's house. When she entered the rabbit's home, she saw a yummy-looking cake on the kitchen top. It had a sticker on its plate that said, "Eat me." Alice was very, very hungry by then. She had missed lunch, so she decided to eat the cake. As soon as she took one bite of the cake, she started to get big again. Soon she could not fit into the house anymore, and she could not see the rabbit's gloves anywhere, but grabbed his fan and decided to run out of the house. As soon as she came out, she started shrinking again.
Oh no! What is this? Will I ever be back to my normal size again?
One of my mushrooms makes you grow tall, and the other side makes you shrink. Alice turned around to see who was talking to her. It was a caterpillar sitting on a mushroom. She quickly ate a piece from the side he was pointing to, and she came back to her normal size. She thanked him for his help and asked, "How do I get back home? Could you please tell me that?"
"That path leads to the Mad Hatter, and the other one to the rabbit's home."
This time, it was a cat that was sitting in a tree talking to Alice. Alice thanked him and took the path to the Mad Hatter. She did not want to meet the rude rabbit again.
"I will meet you in the evening at the Queen's palace,"
said the cat.
Halt! To go further, you must answer my question correctly.
"Oh, I love riddles. Please do ask me your question."
Tell me, why is a raven like a writing desk?
Alice thought for a while, but she did not know the answer to the riddle.
"Oh, I don't know the answer to your question."
"Could you please tell me why?" Alice asked the Mad Hatter. He was taken aback. No one had ever asked him what the answer was to his own riddle.
Oh, well, I don't know either,
he replied.
We don't know anything around here. You can go ahead onto the path.
And so, Alice proceeded to the Queen's castle, where a game of croquet was on. The Queen was very unkind and unreasonable. If she did not like someone, she would instruct her soldier to be off with his or her head immediately. Her guards had made a mistake earlier that day, and so she had turned them into cards for the game. When the Queen saw Alice, she instructed her to play with her. "You will play croquet with me, and if I lose, it will be off with her head."
"Oh, yes, Your Majesty,"
Alice replied. Alice was very careful, but the Queen was terrible at this game, and Alice had to try really hard to lose. "Ha! You lost," said the Queen. "If I want to, I will have your head for it." But trumpets started to play from far away, and the White Rabbit hopped forward. "The royal court is now in session, and you will be tried."
"Tried? For what? I haven't even done anything," said Alice.
"You have been accused of stealing heart-shaped tarts from the Queen's kitchen. First, you don't know how to play croquet," said the Queen. "And then you dare steal tarts from my kitchen. You should be punished. Off with her head."
"This is silly," said Alice. "I haven't even stolen anything. I just reached for the castle and started playing with the Queen." She looked at the White Rabbit, the Mad Hatter, the Caterpillar, and the Talking Cat. They were all looking at her and smiling. "What's going on?" Alice felt someone touching her arm. It was her sister. "Wake up, Alice. You fell asleep next to me. It's time for lunch." "What a strange dream I had. I promise I will never complain of being bored while you read again." "Wow, Mother, that was such a strange story. Next time you sit to talk to me, I too will write my own story instead of getting bored." "Okay, sweetheart, but I have to be the first one you tell it to, okay?"
The Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Mama, I'm feeling hungry. Can you give me something to eat? Would you like to have some porridge? Porridge? Do you know about the family of bears who loved porridge for breakfast? No, Mama. Tell me more. Okay, come sit next to me and listen carefully. Once upon a time, there were three bears who lived in a cottage in a forest. Father Bear was very big and had a deep, growly voice. Mother Bear was medium-sized and had a soft, middling, deep voice. Baby Bear was very small indeed and had a tiny, squeaky voice. They each had their own chair, their very own bed, their very own porridge bowl, and their very own spoon. Every morning, Mother Bear boiled porridge for breakfast and poured it into 3 bowls. There was a very big bowl for Father Bear, a medium-sized bowl for Mother Bear, and a tiny little bowl for Baby Bear. One morning, the 3 bears sat down as usual. They each took a spoonful of the steaming porridge.
Ouch! My porridge is too much hot.
Ouch! My porridge is much too hot, cried Mother Bear in her soft, middling, deep voice. Ouch! My porridge is too hot. I have burned my mouth, squeaked Baby Bear in his tiny, squeaky voice. Let's go for a walk in the forest while our porridge cools down, suggested Mother Bear, and off they went. No sooner had the bears left the house than a little girl stopped at the front gate. Her name was Goldilocks. Because her head was covered in golden curls, she lived in a house right on the other side of the forest. She had been walking for a long time and was very hungry and tired. The front door was open, so Goldilocks peeped inside. Is anyone at home? She called. There was no answer, so she tiptoed into the kitchen to see what she could find. When she saw the porridge, Goldilocks felt hungrier than ever. She picked up the very big spoon and tasted the porridge in the very big bowl. It was far too hot. Then she picked up the medium-sized spoon and tasted the porridge in the medium-sized bowl. But that was much too lumpy. Then she picked up the very small spoon and tasted the porridge in the smallest bowl. It was just right. She ate it all up. I will sit down and rest for a minute before walking home, Goldilocks thought to herself. First she sat down in Father Bear's very big chair, but it was much too hard. Then she sat down in Mother Bear's medium-sized chair, but that was too soft. Then she tried Baby Bear's tiny little chair. It seemed just right. But Goldilocks was far too heavy for it. The chair began to crack and then broke into bits. Goldilocks was sorry about the chair, but there was nothing she could do. She still felt tired, so she went into the bedroom. There she saw 3 beds, a very big bed, a medium-sized bed, and a tiny little bed. I will just have a little sleep before going home. So Goldilocks climbed up onto the very big bed. But when she lay down, she found it was much too hard. So she climbed down and tried the medium-sized bed. But that was much too soft. Then she lay down on the tiny little bed. It was just right. Goldilocks fell fast asleep in no time at all.
Soon afterwards, the three bears came home for breakfast. They stared at the bowls of porridge on the kitchen table.
Who's been eating my porridge?
Roared Father Bear in his deep, growly voice. Who's been eating my porridge? Cried Mother Bear in her soft, middling, deep voice. Who's been eating my porridge and eaten it all up? Wailed Baby Bear in his tiny, squeaky voice. Then Father Bear looked at his very big chair. The cushions were all crumpled.
Who's been sitting in my chair?
He roared in his deep, growly voice. Mother Bear looked at her medium-sized chair. Its cushions too were all crumpled. Who's been sitting in my chair? She cried in her soft, middling, deep voice. Baby Bear looked at his tiny little chair. Who's been sitting in my chair and broken it into pieces? He wailed in his tiny, squeaky voice.
Someone's been in our house,
roared Father Bear.
Let's look in the other rooms.
The three bears went into their bedroom. Father Bear looked at his very big bed, which had a rumpled cover.
Who's been sleeping in my bed?
He roared in his deep, growly voice. Mother Bear looked at her medium-sized bed, which had the bedclothes turned back. Who's been sleeping in my bed? She cried in her soft, middling, deep voice. Baby Bear looked at his tiny little bed. Look, he squeaked in his tiny, squeaky voice. Somebody's sleeping in my bed now! The noise of the three bears woke Goldilocks up. When she saw them, she was very frightened. She jumped up and ran out of the house as fast as her legs could carry her. She ran all the way home and never went into the forest again.
Children, let's listen to this wonderful story about a caterpillar's journey. The Hungry Caterpillar. In the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf. One Sunday morning, the warm sun came up, and popped out of the egg came a tiny and very hungry caterpillar. He started to look for some food. On Monday, he ate through one apple and was still very hungry. Oops, I'm very hungry, he said. On Tuesday, he ate through 2 pears. He screamed, "But I'm hungry again. I want some food." On Wednesday, he ate through 3 plums, but that did not reduce his hunger. He cried out, "Look, I'm still very hungry." On Thursday, he ate through 4 fresh strawberries and was still very hungry. He groaned, "I'm hungry and I still want to eat." On Friday, he ate through 5 sweet mangoes. but he was still very hungry. On Saturday, he ate through one piece of chocolate cake, one ice cream cone, one slice of Swiss cheese, one slice of watermelon, one lollipop, one piece of cherry pie, and one cupcake. That night, he cried, "Ouch! My stomach is aching." The next day was Sunday again. The caterpillar ate through one nice green leaf, and after that he felt much better. He grinned, "Oh, I'm fine now. My stomach doesn't hurt anymore. Yippee!" He was not hungry anymore. Also, he was not a small caterpillar anymore. He screamed, "Hey, I am a biggie now. Look at my size. I'm no more tiny. Ha ha ha." Then he built up a small house called a cocoon around himself. He stayed inside for more than 14 days. He said, "Let me nibble a hole and push myself out of the cocoon." Then a magic happened. Abracadabra, abracadabra. The caterpillar had turned into a beautiful butterfly. He was so happy about it. He screamed with joy, "Hey, have a look at me. See how beautiful I am, and I can fly way up high in the sky."
Once upon a time, there lived a man and his wife. They did not have any children, but they really wanted to have one. After a short period of time, the lady was expecting a baby. One morning, when she was looking out of her window, she saw a beautiful lettuce garden next door. From that moment, she could not think of anything else except that lettuce. "I wish I could eat them." The husband's heart sank when he heard her. This garden belonged to a wicked witch who would let no one to enter. But he loved his wife very much, and so with pounding heart, he went into the garden to pick the juicy lettuce. But as he was about to pick the lettuce, the wicked witch caught him. "You thief! How dare you enter my garden?" she screamed. He fell at her feet and begged, "Please don't curse me. If my wife doesn't eat this, she will die. She's going to have a baby and is very ill." "I will let you live," she said slyly, "if you promise to give me your firstborn." The poor man had no other way but to agree. He took the lettuce to his wife and soon gave birth to a beautiful girl. But as per the agreement, the witch came to take the baby away. The beautiful girl was named Rapunzel, and the witch took her to far away land and locked her in a high tower. The tower had no doors or stairs. There was only a window on top. The only person whom Rapunzel ever saw was the wicked witch. She grew up to become the most beautiful girl, with pretty eyes, beautiful voice, and her golden hair grew very, very long. All day long, when Rapunzel was alone, she would sing and weep. Such lovely things are yours and mine forever. The peaceful streams, the murmurs of the sea, the far-off hills that glow with purple heather. Such lovely things God made for you and me. Hey birds, sing with me. I'm alone. Come, be my friend. Rapunzel wanted to go out and explore the world, but she was locked in that high tower. Every day, the wicked witch came to the tower with food. She stood at the bottom of the tower and shouted, "Rapunzel! Rapunzel! Let your hair down!" Rapunzel would drop her long braided hair through the window. The witch used the hair as a rope to climb into the tower. One day, a handsome prince was passing by and heard her sing. Such lovely things are yours and mine forever. The peaceful streams, the murmurs of the sea, the far-off hills that glow with purple heather. Such lovely things God made for you and me. He fell in love with her voice and, unknown to all, came to the tower every day to hear her sing. One day, the prince saw the witch climbing up the tower using Rapunzel's hair. The next day, the prince too called out to Rapunzel, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," he said. The prince climbed to the top of the tower. After that, Prince came to meet Rapunzel every day. Alas, the witch soon discovered the prince with Rapunzel. She pushed him from the tower onto a thorny bush, making him blind. She banished Rapunzel into the desert far away. Many years passed. The blind prince wandered alone and finally reached the same desert. One day he heard a familiar voice singing, "Such lovely things are yours and mine forever. The peaceful streams, the murmurs of the sea, the far-off hills that glow with purple heather. Such lovely things God made for you and me." Following the sound, he found her. They hugged each other in joy. Tears of happiness rolled down Rapunzel's cheek. As the tears fell on the prince's eyes, he regained his vision. The prince took Rapunzel to his kingdom, and they lived happily ever after. Hey Peter, Anna, it's raining heavily. Come inside.
No, Mama, we want to play.
And what about a story?
Yay! We are coming! Mama, what story are you going to tell?
Come, sit with me. I'm going to tell you the story named Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It was the middle of winter. The snow fell softly as a beautiful queen sat sewing by a window. As she gazed out at the wintry scene and watched a blackbird perching on a snow-covered branch, she pricked her finger with her needle. How I wish I had a daughter with skin as white as the snow, lips as red as my blood, and hair as black as a blackbird, she thought. Not long afterwards, the queen did indeed have a pretty baby girl who was just like the one she had wished for. The queen called her daughter Snow White. Sadly, the queen died soon after Snow White was born, and Snow White's father, the king, married again. His new queen was very beautiful but vain. Every day she would go to her magic mirror and say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And the mirror would reply,
You, O Queen, are the fairest one of all.
Then the queen would smile because she knew that the mirror always spoke the truth. The years passed, and Snow White grew into a beautiful girl. One day, the queen looked in the magic mirror and said, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And this time the mirror replied,
You are fair, O Queen, it's true, but Snow White is fairer now than you.
The queen was so angry and jealous that she decided Snow White must die at once. She sent for her huntsman and told him to take Snow White deep into the forest and kill her. He must then bring back her heart to prove she was dead. The huntsman led Snow White deep into the forest.
I will leave you here, but you must promise never to return home.
Snow White agreed, so the huntsman left her and returned to the palace. On the way, he killed a deer and cut out its heart. He took this to the queen and pretended it was Snow White's heart. Poor Snow White wandered through the forest feeling tired, lonely, and very hungry. At last she reached a clearing and saw a little house. She tapped on the door, and when there was no answer, she went inside. Now, the cottage was the home of 7 dwarfs. Every day they went to a nearby mine and dug for diamonds. When night came, they returned home carrying their shovels, pickaxes, and bags of jewels. When they arrived home on this particular night, they saw at once that someone had been in their house and eaten some of their food. When they went upstairs, they straightway saw Snow White asleep. "Who can this beautiful girl be?" they asked each other in amazement. When Snow White woke up, she told them her story. The dwarfs felt so sorry for her that they invited her to stay with them and be their housekeeper. But they warned her that she must never open the door to anyone while they were away at the mine in case the wicked queen found out she was alive and came to kill her. Snow White stayed with the dwarfs. She was very happy looking after them, and before long she forgot all about the wicked queen. The queen, meanwhile, believing Snow White to be dead, had not bothered to ask her magic mirror her usual question, but one day, as she stood combing her hair, the queen idly asked her mirror, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And the mirror promptly replied,
You, O Queen, are fair, it's true, but Snow White is fairer far than you. Deep within the greenwood shade, Snow White with dwarfs her home has made.
The queen was furious, and realizing that the huntsman had tricked her, she decided to kill Snow White herself. She disguised herself as an old peddler woman and made her way to the dwarf's cottage. There she found Snow White sitting by the window.
Would you like to buy a pretty comb for your hair?
Asked the queen in her sweetest tone of voice. Snow White quite forgot the dwarf's warning and ran to open the door. The queen showed her a beautiful comb made of tortoise shell and gold.
Let me comb your hair,
offered the queen, and she drew the comb through Snow White's long, silky hair. But the comb had been dipped in deadly poison, and when the teeth grazed Snow White's scalp, she fell down as if dead. The queen ran off, laughing cunningly, leaving the comb in Snow White's hair. When the dwarfs returned from the mine, they found Snow White lying on the ground with the poisoned comb in her hair. They snatched it out, and as they did so, Snow White opened her eyes. When they heard what had happened, they told her that the peddler woman must have been the wicked queen in disguise, and begged her again never to open the door to strangers. The queen, back at her palace, rushed to her mirror and asked, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" When the mirror replied,
O Queen, your poison was in vain, for Snow White is alive again.
She was furious. The queen smiled, sure that this time the poison would work. She rushed home and spoke to her magic mirror again. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" This time the mirror replied,
You, O Queen, you are the fairest of them all.
The wicked queen smiled with satisfaction. When the dwarfs came home and found Snow White dead, they made a glass coffin and laid her in it. They put the coffin amongst the flowers in their garden and kept watch by it day and night. One day it happened that a prince came riding through the forest, and he saw the glass coffin in which Snow White lay. She looked so beautiful that he fell in love with her. He asked the dwarfs if he could take the coffin back to his castle. The dwarfs would not allow this, but they agreed to let the prince kiss Snow White. As the prince kissed Snow White, the piece of poisoned apple fell from her lips. Her eyes opened, and she saw the handsome prince kneeling over her. She fell in love with him straight away. The dwarfs were overjoyed that she was alive once more, and even more delighted when the prince and Snow White agreed to marry. When the queen once again asked the mirror her favorite question, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" it replied,
You, O Queen, are the fair, it's true, but Queen Snow White is fairer still than you.
The queen smashed the magic mirror in her rage. The king, who had discovered how she had tried to kill his lovely daughter, Snow White, banished her from the land. Snow White said goodbye to the dwarfs and rode away with her handsome prince. They were married and lived happily ever after. The Thirsty Crow. Teacher, I can't get the book from the shelf. It's too high for me. Nothing is impossible, dear. Where there's a will, there's a way. I didn't get it, teacher. Come on, listen to this beautiful story and you will understand everything. On a hot summer day, a crow was flying high up in the sky. After a long flight, the crow was tired and thirsty. He gazed here and there to find some water, but there was none. Suddenly, the crow saw a big earthen pot. He happily flew down to the pot and peeped in with great hope. But the water was at the bottom of the pot. The thirsty crow tried hard to reach the water. However, he couldn't succeed. Crow was thirsty and there was no other source of water. So, he began thinking of ways to get water from the pot. He looked around and found some pebbles lying on the ground. Suddenly, an idea sprang to his mind. The crow picked up the pebbles in his beak one by one and dropped them in the pot. As the pebbles went down, the water began rising. The crow drank water and flew away. He thanked God Almighty. Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful girl called Cinderella. She lived with her father, stepmother, and 2 stepsisters. After the death of her father, the wicked mother and her daughters began treating Cinderella like a slave. They made her do all the household chores and never made her feel part of the family. Cinderella used to feel very lonely. One day, a royal messenger announced that a royal ball would take place and all the young ladies were invited.
I will wear my red velvet gown,
said the eldest stepsister happily.
I will wear my green velvet gown,
said the youngest stepsister. The day of the ball arrived. The stepmother and her daughters dressed up and went to the ball. Cinderella stood near a window and watched them go.
I wish I too could go to the ball,
she thought sadly. Suddenly, a fairy godmother appeared before her. Why are you crying, my dear? Do you want to attend the royal ball? She asked kindly.
Yes, but how can I go to the ball dressed in rags?
Cinderella asked the fairy. Wipe your tears. Bring me a pumpkin, 6 mice, and a rat, said the fairy godmother. At once Cinderella obeyed. The fairy godmother touched the pumpkin with her magic wand. Instantly it changed into a beautiful golden coach. Then the fairy godmother turned the mice into 6 horses and the rat into a coachman. "Now all you need is a nice dress," said the fairy godmother. She lightly tapped Cinderella with her wand. Immediately, her rags changed into the most beautiful gown she had ever seen. Now Cinderella looked like a princess. As Cinderella sat in the coach, the fairy godmother warned her, "Remember, you must return before midnight or the magic will be over."
I will,
promised Cinderella. Soon Cinderella reached the palace. All the people in the ballroom gazed at her.
"What a beautiful girl!"
they whispered.
"What a beautiful dress!"
sighed the stepsisters. The prince too was enchanted by Cinderella's beauty. All evening he danced only with her. Suddenly, as the clock began to strike midnight, Cinderella remembered Fairy Godmother's warning.
"Oh, I must go! I must go!"
cried Cinderella and ran out.
Wait, wait, tell me your name,
cried the prince and ran after her. But Cinderella was gone. Suddenly, the prince saw something glittering on the stairs. It was one of Cinderella's glass slippers. The prince picked it up. The next day it was announced that the prince would marry the girl whose foot fitted the glass slipper. A minister went from house to house with the glass slipper. When the minister reached Cinderella's house, the 2 stepsisters eagerly tried the slipper, but it did not fit either of them. "It's your turn now," the minister told Cinderella.
"She is only the servant girl,"
protested Cinderella's stepmother. "She must try too," replied the minister. The slippers fitted Cinderella perfectly. Her stepmother and stepsisters were shocked. Just then, the fairy godmother appeared. And changed Cinderella into a princess. "She's the princess from the ball," gasped the stepsisters. Cinderella got married to the prince, and they lived happily ever after.